Hey, welcome back. My name is Amoria. Usually I talk about my journey out of being a Jehovah's Witness or Christianity in general, and a lot of my content is XJW content. But today I actually want to talk about some of my activism. I want to explain some of the philosophies that I've picked up since starting activism, what got me interested in activism, and the types of activism that I do engage in. The philosophies that I hold within activism actually stem from my experience as a Jehovah's Witness. Because I first was so unjust to other people that I loved, like my twin sister, and then later was treated very unjustly myself, I learned many lessons about what it means to be the most vulnerable person in the room and to not be heard and to not have your experiences validated. Then being shunned taught me a lot about the impacts that has on the brain and just on an individual. So one of my philosophies started to have to do with what should we be doing with the people that we don't like or that we tend to want to discard and push out of our communities? Should that even be happening? What alternatives could there be? One of the reasons why I left being a Jehovah's Witness was because I wanted to support BLM. Very shortly after that, I also supported Stop Asian Hate. And then a few years later, when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I again found myself protesting that. But each of these experiences was just me going out to one protest and kind of posting online. I hadn't found any communities that I was yet organizing with. Then after October 7th, 2023, I started to learn a lot more about Palestine and Israel. Because I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, I had an understanding of the nation of Israel found in the Bible. The political nation of Israel is not the same as the biblical nation of Israel. And I don't know why people get that so confused. I think that's what feeds a lot of Christian Zionists. I started to learn a lot more about what had been happening in Palestine for over 75 years. This has been going on for a very long time. This has been systemic oppression. It's simply an occupation of Palestinian land. And I am all for land back. Shocker. For Palestine, for the United States. I am against colonization. Again, shocker. I'm a woman of color, and my grandmother immigrated here from Guatemala because my family had to flee civil war there. It was during my activism for Palestine that I actually realized that Israel had a hand in causing that civil war in Guatemala that made my family flee here. So I wouldn't even be here if it weren't for Israel and what they've been doing for quite a while. After October 7th, I started going to a lot of protests, and I eventually began organizing as well. I took part in direct action, which is pretty much where you act directly. You're not trying to negotiate anymore, you're trying to demand change. That can be in the form of demonstrations or civil disobedience, which I have engaged in. I like direct action because I have always felt a lot for humanity. It's just that when I was Jehovah's Witness, I was taught that it was not my place to do anything about it. But after leaving, I didn't feel that way anymore after seeing the videos and images coming out of Palestine. And it was really disturbing and frustrating to feel like I was grieving, watching this people go through a G-side, then have a lot of people that I knew personally act like nothing was happening at all. That was definitely one of the things that pushed me to engaging in direct action. My philosophy is, if you don't want to spend time learning about the atrocities that are happening around the world, in such large part because of us as Americans, if you don't want to take that time, then I will absolutely waste your time. There's nothing more important than other people dying. There's nothing that is different between us and them. We are all humans. We all have the same blood running through us. I should not be having to watch children be I should not have had to watch a father carry around all that was left of his son in a plastic bag. It's just been horrifying. So yeah, that has been a lot of what has spurred my activism for Palestine. I went on to take part in the disruption of the Democratic Convention. And I also supported the college encampments for Gaza. Something that was really interesting that I wasn't expecting to put together was the biblical history of the nation of Canaan and how it connects to modern day Palestine. And then after learning about Mother Goddess worship and the very violent undoing of matriarchy nations and female goddess worship, how it was then replaced with Christianity, and then you get this very different narrative from the nation of Israel in the Bible about Canaan and who they are and how bad they are. It's essentially propaganda. So it was really interesting to piece together how I now view a lot of the Bible as essentially propaganda, and how it even spurs on modern day propaganda that we now see coming out of Israel.